Best of 9 TVZ Beastyqt versus Lambo. Okay, now one of the things to talk about here in Namaste is, first off, I love that there's this particle effect of like the cherry blossoms. Like instead of snow, it's like cherry blossoms floating across the screen. That is so sick. I'm a big fan of aesthetics, and while this isn't hugely influential to the map, I just think it's cool. But this is going to be a best of 9, folks, to test the tournaments. The loser of this will still get away with $100 coming from Blizzard, but this is, again, emphasizing here, sponsored by Blizzard. I'll grab one of their logos and get it up in a moment. I should have done that before. But to kick off the cast, in the top left side of Namaste, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to be the Yellow Terran player, the Beast from the East, Beastyqt.
In the top right, as the Blue Zerg, it is Lambo.
Of course, playing for Invasion Gaming and True Esports, respectively. But this is kind of cool. So we talked about the way this was going to look, and already we see BC doing something very interesting. And walling off out here instead of his main. Now this presents problems where, like, let's say Lambo was getting super aggressive, knock down these rocks. Although I consider, real quick here, this is neat. There's not a surface area for a Zerg to break this very fast. I think only about 4 or 5 links could fit on these rocks.
Maybe not even that much. Depends how much they actually, like, basically like where the core barriers actually are. But I mean, probably we'll see that eventually. Broken down with the test, but this is a very odd way to prepare to wall off. I mean, we saw people do this. 1 or 2 people do this on. You brought it up earlier, another AVEX map. The first one we saw. That
Purified Forge?
Yes, thank you, Purified Forge, right. Where it was like there was a double ramp, and initially people weren't really doing this, but then like one person or 2 people, I can't remember, started to kind of diagonal almost wall off, so they could wall off both ramps, kind of, you know, 2 birds with 1 stone it. And I guess that's what Beastyqt is thinking of doing. It looks kind of stupid, but I mean, it is working.
If your opponent's not going to get super aggressive, I like it. If you're not expecting a 14 pool, I like it. I don't like not putting the full wall off. Like, you can have the barracks as part of this, I guess, but
yeah,
kind of creating a ghetto choke behind it. Lambo, of course, by the way, is going to be kept at home with the Reapers. I guess that's why BC feels comfortable to get away with this for the time being. But what's really interesting, and I want to emphasize this before we get too much into casting games today, a lot of the options we had were we could have picked a bunch of Korean players to play in this tournament. But unfortunately, in every iteration of the map contest prior, most of the Korean players, especially Parting, who I think has won like 3 or 4 Team Liquid map contests, they just did things like they would blink all in on every single map. But we didn't get to explore or see the differences or the nuances of any of the maps. What I think is really cool, though, is the players we got to pick. Because we work with them so frequently, we know the European players might not have like the craziest, most hardcore strategy, and they're not GSL like Zest or anything. But we know a lot of them are going to explore the maps and do things like this, like take down the rock towers and play around with options, which is what we really want to see in a map test tournament. Because let's not forget, if any single one of these maps makes it to the ladder, it doesn't just affect tournament play. It affects like the bottom of the ladder, the Bronze League heroes, the Silver League, etc. So it's nice to get a good all-around look at what's available on these maps.
Yeah, they also provide feedback where I think a lot of the Koreans either can't, like they can't get it through their English, or just are not very interested in. They just want to win the tournament and be done with it.
There's that, but there's another interesting aspect here too, where I want to make this clear because I don't feel like this is going to get enough credit. Scion very explicitly wants us to help the map makers get some more exposure. So as we go through these maps, I'm also going to be crediting who made them. And a big part of, again, having so many, like we wouldn't do best of 9s. We could do a whole tournament best of 3s if we wanted to. But we chose best of 9s because we wanted to make sure every map by the map makers got a chance to be seen before the finals. If not, again, in the finals. So Namaste being a pretty cool map, was made by the map maker AVEX. Oh, there you go. As if we don't give this guy enough credit as is.
It's like, this is what I'm actually going to remember. Hey, AVEX got like 3 of his maps in it, so he was pretty excited about that. And again, I don't remember which ones they chose for their map pool. Now that I have it written down, I can go check mark what they did, but I think they chose another one from him. Anywho, the Reaper, as we've been watching on the screen, you guys saw, like, it has a lot of opportunities where it actually gets away. So that's why it's still alive. There's a couple of different points that are just kind of like one-off like grid spaces, but it lets it, you know, duck under or over stairs. That's what it was, stairs and ramps and whatnot. So that's pretty nice for Terran, one thing I noticed. Not a ton... There's actually enough dead space for Liberators to be annoying, but there's not a ton of space behind the mineral lines, which I think is a little more problematic. That's where you can't fit a Spore Crawler, like right where that Queen was, a little bit behind her. And it doesn't really... You know, it actually is a big problem. Liberators, unfortunately, have become that third type of unit that really affects map makers. So, like with the force field, you know, you can't make too many chokes. Tanks siege up spots like this one, you have to be very careful of. And of course, now Liberators, you have to make sure it can't be abused. And unfortunately, that looks like in a pretty abusive spot.
Maybe. I mean, with 2 ramps, I think the idea is you don't funnel up 1 choke. But this base also hasn't been taken the way it did. I mean, it does leave opportunities to siege up the mineral line. Same way a Liberator might siege up a mineral line too. So I mean, it's like you pick your poison, right? Like, which is worse? Obviously, the tanks in this instance.
Yeah, the Liberator, by the way, was cleaned up, I believe, by Ravagers, so that wasn't too difficult. But these tanks have certainly done a lot of damage. Still doing damage, actually, as they get a couple of Ravagers. Saves the tank, almost loses both in the process. Yeah, 4 Queens go down. These Lings stuck behind the Ravagers want to get on top of that tank best they can. Those rocks are going to cut him off pretty hardcore for getting back to his main correctly, but Lambo does hold, and I want to point out, without losing too many workers, that was a big army for army fight, and about 6 workers went down. Most of the deaths were Queens. That's true. A couple of, like, a good chunk of Lings went down as well, and certainly if there is a third CC behind us, I can see Beastyqt really ramping up. There's not a third CC, there's just more production, which I guess it means he's going to be ramping up in a different way, like in another army fight way, which will still be very scary for Lambo to deal with. There's no creep spread up there yet. I believe that Beastyqt's going to try and abuse that same spot. Looking down south to where the 4th base is, where TVZ usually hits a point, I don't see as many, and that would just open you up to a big, like, concave in the middle of the map. So I don't know if that's going to be an option.
Just now realizing too, like, all these bases initially are pretty normal size, but the ones on the bottom are so spacious. Like, wow.
Ooh, spacious.
Well, what I kind of like, this is going extreme with this, right? But I kind of visualize, like, if you do like an extreme base trade, you can just rebuild in the bottom, like, with everything.
Yeah.
But don't think we'll see too many of those. Tank drops coming in once again. Lambo doesn't quite have things to deal with it. Ravagers will do okay at pushing it back, but they're not guaranteed to stop it. That's where you really need some sort of flyer attack to hit those medevacs and knock them out of the sky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the Ravagers secure the Liberator, so I guess Lambo didn't really feel a necessity to go for mutas. Just, you looked at the map and said maybe Roach Ravager is the way to go, but I'm thinking maybe it's not. I think that's going to be one of the very interesting things we'll see in a TVZ in particular, is like what maps need mutas or are much better for a Roach Ravager. That just went down lickety split. Lambo has no defense.
He did take another gold base down here when this was getting a bit hairy initially, but you're right, like his army supply is lacking, his army type of supply is lacking as well. He's not hitting these medevacs, he can't quite deal with the Marines. There's no banlings in the army. If he can get rid of the tanks, then this might be holdable, but unfortunately, as we see, BC's on point when it comes to picking up. He's even got SCVs out here repairing the tanks.
That's pretty nice. Once you see that there's an abusive spot for tanks, absolutely bring some SCVs with it. Because imagine like 5 SCVs with the 2 tanks initially. Oh, yeah. Those things would have lasted a lot longer too. And this does just look like game. Lambo, who's going Roach Ravager, can't get a supply lead. Beastyqt's 2-base push is way too strong.
Yeah. This is something a little bit scary for him to deal with. I mean, I like the idea of expanding the way he did and the cool idea of taking down those rocks, but unfortunately can't even contest the bio, and the tanks aren't even with the bio, it's just the bio.
Yep. Yeah, not even any Marauders here. It is just pure, like, DPS from those Marines, and that's going to be enough.
I guess a point to make, like, one small difference that could have been had, I mean, this is layer coming out so late, whether it's mutas, whether it's fungal growths, just something additional to throw down on top of that. Just really unfortunate for Lambo, but good game out of Beastyqt as he will take map number 1 in a best of 9 series.
Best of 9. Woohoo! You know, I mean, I can't recall the past map contests we've cast, honestly. Like, I remember the maps, I remember, you know, as you said, partying with Blinkstalker all-ins, and, you know, the blinding lights of a Dash and Terminal, but it does, I mean, in a way, when you think about it, makes sense that maybe Terrans would get a good start, especially a Terran who can identify such positions as Beastyqt did. I feel like siege tanks, especially now that they're back in the meta, it's Legacy of the Void after all, are going to maybe cause problems. But, you know, maybe not. Maybe it was an issue of not having mutas.
Well, one of the things too, not only that, like forgetting the fact that some of these maps are straight up gonna be broken. Like we're not gonna try and make reasoning for things that don't make sense. But there's some taboos in map making. You know, old school things like, oh, don't make skinny hallways because sentry force fields are OP and things like that. There's a lot of new things to consider, like again, picking up siege tanks, liberator positioning, all this stuff.
Jesus, where did I? Oh, is that really? Oh. We talked about it so much, and even realized I chose it in the part of the map. Apotheosis.
Okay, and by the way, players, this goes right hand in hand with feedback. I know Avex is watching at least, but Lambo's saying that there is a spot behind the mineral line where you can't put a spore.
Yeah,
Beasty's also saying there's like abusable spots on like 10 out of the 15 maps because I know he explored them. Like some of these players playing the map test tournament, I know are not going to have played any of these maps. But a couple people like Beasty I know will have done their homework, played ahead of time, looked at some of the maps, and seen like, oh, can I abuse a spot with a liberator here and there? So what's really kind of, again, another important aspect of things, guys, is the map makers themselves are going to have this test tournament help them give feedback on their maps. Then they'll get about a week, I think, is-ish, what they've been given on Team Liquid, to revise the maps, resubmit them for judging, and then they'll be picked again later. So, I mean, these are the finalists. These are not the final maps, and these are not necessarily the maps you'll see next season and ladder. But these are the finalists.
Yeah. This is, again, another reason to have these, like, foreigners, like, not the greatest games, so that one is certainly fun, is that they're going to find abusive positions, first of all. I really like that Beastyqt was chosen, just, you know, as a side note, kind of, is that, and he was talking about, like, you know, Brood War. He's always been a guy that would actually, like, study maps, so I think he's a really good choice. But, is that the feedback can actually be given here, so...
Real quick, by the way, so we missed some stuff earlier before we get into this game. We can go whenever the players are ready, but Not Dominish donated $10 and says, Hodor. Oh, dude, you can't. I can't. Not the feel. It's not necessarily.
I had to look up, because I don't watch Game of Thrones anymore. I had to look up what that meant.
Dude, okay, no spoilers. Nobody talk about it. JD Ta, 16 months. Thank you for the resub. And Devin Wolf, thank you for the 19-month resub as well. Apotheosis.
Yeah,
let's go with Apotheosis. I got
Apotheosis.
it. Apotheosis.
Anyways,
smart. This map is made by a man or woman named -0.
That's a good point.
Is that like the only number in existence that couldn't be a negative, though? Like,
it's not a negative or a positive.
Is it an integer? I don't know. I don't know math.
It just is.
It just is. Okay.
Man.
So again, quick reminder, guys, this tournament is sponsored by Blizzard, and I really hope we see more stuff like them in the future. The story on this kind of goes like, and this isn't all me, okay? I know for a fact that there's so much more that went into this than just me, but it was like last November I had talked to Scion and said, hey, man, it'd be really cool if we... Wait, what's he talking about? Just the skinniness, or...?
Hold on.
What just happened?
I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll find out in a second. What happened? Did it give him vision or something weird?
Oh, it was on slow. Oh, GameSpeed does not. Okay, I'm going to make... I forgot that's another issue. Usually, like, when the ladder maps are uploaded, or most maps in general, they do try and make the preset game speed faster. But I think that's something that either Battle.net screws up, because I don't know how you upload maps, or they forget to change.
Yeah, so they're saying 2 of the maps that like default to slow for some reason. Again, shout out to Beasty. This guy does his homework, but we'll just remake that then. Okay, cool. I'm glad to hear it wasn't something really broken. That's what I was more worried about. Like they load in and they can't actually select their units or something stupid. Yeah, see each other, or I don't know.
So we just put a spin on it. Like, this is what happens when you can see each other in StarCraft 2.
It's a feature to have no fog of war.
Yeah, exactly. Feature.
So how stoked are you for the Overwatch launch day, by the way?
I am less stoked about the launch and more stoked about the collector's edition I bought that should be arriving like in an hour.
I want that statue so badly, Zombie Grove. I want that statue so badly.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to give me yours,
nope.
No, okay, darn it. It's like, oh, you gonna finish that? You gonna finish that chicken on that plate there?
If you tell me your birthday.
Okay, so Apotheosis coming up as we get players ready to go. Beasty, I think, is one we're waiting on.
Come on.
Also, side note while we get into this, the story I was telling before, I'll just go into again really quick. Wait 1 sec here. Alright, the story I was telling before was, it was last November I contacted Scion, and I know that having worked with them through Hell It's About Time and a couple other things in the past, Blizzard's had some issues with just pushing things forward, even initiatives they want to do. So I know for a fact that they've really wanted to do a map test tournament or map contest, whatever you want to call it. They've been trying to push the balance change maps and such by putting them in-game clients. I'm just really glad that we could, A, get some really sick money. Again, $4,000 is coming out of Blizzard's pocket to pay the players. On top of the fact that we get to give that same exposure, give a lot of the maps attention, whereas in previous map tournaments they're usually ignored and some are completely not even seen. So again, thank you so much to both Blizzard, Scion, and everyone who made this possible, including all the map makers. Once again, shoutouts to Negative0, the creator of Apotheosis. But it is game number 2 in a best of 9. Quite a few more to go. Shoutouts to Empty Eyes for the resub. So we get into this game. We'll look at the map in a moment, but first, in the bottom right, he's up 1-0. It's going to be True Esports, Yellow Terran, Beastyqt.
In the top left, as the Red Zerg, it is Invasion Esports Lambo.
Okay, so we'll do the double zoom out for a second and worry about build orders later. I mean, the main and natural are pretty, I'd say, sane. What's kind of interesting, though, is like where this choke goes. Like, you can get a small choke here, knock down the rocks, and maybe focus on the right side, or just ignore the rocks and take your third up here. The problem is you can't really wall this off, and that's what gets a little bit scary, I think, as a Terran player. But then again, the distance is so long, I don't know that Zerg rushes are going to time out and be like, sup, bro, I went for a 14 pull. My name's Acer Bly, I can do whatever I want, you know, like, or not Acer, sorry, Bly, but...
Jesus.
I'm so bad with that, I don't know what it is. But my point is, there's no easy way to wall this off. Like, Protoss, I can see getting away, because they do that thing where they put a couple of gateways next to the ramp, and you kind of get a sort of wall off. But I can't see Terran pulling that off.
I guess it's just one of those things where we've lived through it before, right? Like, we've gone through hard times before, so we'll probably figure out a good way to do it. If a natural is hard to wall off, we might see the return of a bunker next to the command center.
Maybe. Because, I mean, like, I'm thinking of, like, 7 different types of proxies, like proxy hatchery, proxy gates, proxy robo, proxy stargate. Like, there's just so many messy ways.
Maybe.
Hell,
So,
proxy 3x Reaper, like, good luck, have fun keeping those out of the base.
well, they just go Rick into it, but I don't know. We'll certainly see as we continue this map contest. We're gonna see all different races. Oh, tricky drone, hiding. Aha, ho. But I was gonna say, I brought that up right when we were looking at it. That it reminds me of a certain map. Crossfire is what I was thinking of from the GSL early days. I think it's maybe slightly long. No, it is definitely longer. Never mind. Like, especially main base to main base, it is definitely a bigger map. But it's kind of the same idea, very linear, 1.5 pathways to really get around, and usually matchups will just evolve into basically one pathway being used every single time. But anywho, it's probably a lot more balanced than Crossfire was, which, because it was so small, it had a bunch of different problems. This one's actually fairly long.
Well, back then you had to be really careful, or you'd get caught up in the Crossfire.
Crossfire.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Beastyqt decides to bring out the starport.
Oh, double
starport tactic on this map, which I wonder what he saw to convince him that this would be the better option.
So two things ring solid for that right away. Number one being, he did mention there's abusable spots on like 10 out of the 15 maps for Liberators, at least from what he played around with. So this could be a thing. I also want to remark that even though this map is longer, I'm going to bring up the topic of Proxy Reapers again for just a second, because there's so many ways that they could be abused into this base. Like, your main is not safe from Blink, it's not safe from Reapers. I'm just going to say this, Apotheosis, as long as it is, a lot of it's, I think, what its intention is to prevent rushing, gets cut out if somebody proxies.
Okay, it really... It would certainly be worth sending an SCV out early enough to proxy if it is, that many options for a Reaper to get up. So that definitely could be a problem. In fact, it probably would be the main problem. But Beastyqt didn't think so, or didn't recognize it fast enough. Instead, he recognized that something with Banshees would be abusable. Maybe he just wants to send this out on a different map. Maybe he realizes that, a third gold base could be easily defendable. It is like right there in front of you. I'm not sure, but I'm looking around at the dead space available, there's really not too much. Well, okay, back here actually, the third gold base is a little annoying. So that there's a lot of dead space, but there's also a lot of room behind the mineral line. The opposite problem of Namaste in the main base. So a spore crawler can be put down there, no problem.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part why Lambo's emphasizing spreading creep too, so you can move it down there if he needs. I think Moonlight Madness was the biggest culprit of this, where if you didn't have space behind the mineral lines, that's where we learned how broken Liberators were going to be back in beta days. But yeah. Gold base not the emphasis though. Third base normally taken up here wouldn't have those same problems. So I guess it depends on what type of player you're playing against, what the map playstyle is. Look at this spread of links, by the way. Oh my god.
Yeah, like shaking every avenue again. It's probably going to, if this was chosen as a ladder map, it would really evolve into one option of attack path. Probably it's just that's the way that games go. Even Overgrowth, eventually only one attack path was chosen. But anyway...
He's swapping into Bio after this, by the way.
He is, yes. So the Banshees were revealed by the multiple Lings running around. Not a problem with 3, if he has just a couple more Queens here, as he does have an Overseer prepare or getting ready, a Spore Crawler at least one of these bases. He just needs to make sure not to lose too many units outside of said Spore Crawler.
Yeah, Spire's also on the way, so I mean, this could get out of hand to a point, but with Queens coming here to defend, I think it should be manageable. 4 drones go down, honestly, not crazy damage out of Beastyqt. In fact, more damage done through forcing Spore Crawlers than kills. Yeah,
1 Spore Crawler on each base at least. It's a very big worry that they're not going just in a barracks like Beastyqt is, and honestly, that's more surprising than the other option, which Lambo's probably more scared of, which is the Banshees, Speed Banshees, Liberator, Mass Air mech that we're seeing every now and then, so certainly have to worry about that. And he's actually going for double Spire.
Well, that's the thing. I think for a moment he thought this was going to be a lot more air heavy, so double upgrades, getting that armor upgrade, all that stuff, like that makes sense for the Corruptors. But it's not, and BC's going for like a 2-base build that's, I will say, kind of all in.
It's also scouted, which...
It's just weird because like the stim timing's so late. It's only a +1. Like there's really not a lot here to say like, oh my god, this is going to be the greatest all-in of all time like last time. But there's no indication of a third anytime soon.
Well, that's certainly true. It's probably going to time out fairly similar to last game's secondary push, if I had to guess, with that stim timing. But this time there isn't as many tanks, maybe. That's where the gas went into with those Banshees. I can't believe you found a spot to hit that hatchery and there's 3 Spore Crawlers on it.
Well, it's not an issue right now. What is worrisome though is like if there's an actual push following this up, and these rocks got knocked down, this base would have died without a doubt.
Oh yeah, like an immediate follow-up to that, and he's trying to hit it. With stim being maybe like 30 seconds off and how long Apotheosis is, I guess it's going to time out pretty well, but imagine if they had timed out well with the rocks being broken down.
We should have started a stopwatch, by the way, when these left the base to see just how long it'll take to get across the map.
Yeah.
Rip I know, with Fenner going to Overwatch. Who's going to tell us rush times?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bly, funnily enough, for whatever reason, I guess because he does so many early pools, he usually pays a lot of attention to how big the rush distance is. So remember the first time he played on Avex's map was the first time I learned how the distance went.
Well, I guess anything that applies to Liberators with low ground is going to apply to tanks as well, and these get a nice spot to deny mining on the gold. So with Downey Lambo to take a third up here, and another base comes over on the left side of the map, so losing this base, not the end of the world, but not something he wanted to have to deal with.
I will say that, 2 tank pushes in a row, and they look almost unbeatable. Like this really sucks for Lambo, but that is the intention of a gold base, is to be risky, but hopefully you can keep it up for a long time.
That's what I didn't like about Preon Terraces. Like that really made it so there wasn't that risk. You were just getting that income.
Yeah.
Now there's a bit of question. And I mean, let's be honest, he mined so much from it. It's hard to say his base wasn't worth having taken. Especially with the other bases now behind. He pulled his drones back. He's a little supply blocked, which is a bit awkward, but his banelings are farming up. Speed finishes here very soon, and I think he's really got to wait for that speed to go in for this fight.
Well, the good news is that once you get past the ramp, there isn't really not any usable spot for the tanks anymore, so they can't reach a hatchery here. They can't even really reach the army. If he has Spore Crawler, it's not that big of a deal. So this is an okay position, I think. But you are going to be funneling down into a ramp, so that's never a good position if you're going to try and break this.
Liberator's not sieging up as well. There's a Corruptor or 2 in the mix. Muta's not going to be too great in this scenario, but A lot of this is going to come down to the Banelings. Beasty with some focus fire from the tanks on top of the Banelings, but two different angles come in. Marines retreat behind the tanks. The tanks are moved by the mutas, but is there enough to deal with the Marines afterwards?
Yeah, it still went through a choke. There's still so many tanks available, and Lambo, unless he has a really good follow-up, I'm not seeing it so far. Only 7 Banelings on the way. He's not going to be able to break this. Beastyqt lost a good chunk of Marines and air support, basically, but he still has 4 tanks available.
Yeah. I will say, like, even if you're a Zerg fan right now and you're like, goddamn cheesy Terran 2-base tank push BS, like, the thing is, though, it does still show where a lot of the abusiveness of some of these maps will come into play, things to watch out for around the golds. And while this might not be a map anybody ever plays, if it is, we need to know about all of these problems. So a cheap win here and there for BC to make the map a better playing experience later, that's exactly what this tournament is all about.
It is a little complicated, though, and I kind of feel for the map makers, because you recall, like, in the early Legacy of the Void, it was all cheese. Whenever a new map pool has come out, it's all cheese and, like, overload drop all-ins and whatnot. Like, that's always going to be the first option
even
in
on
the first test. But then eventually, you know, you start to do things that intentionally counter a build like this from Beastyqt. You start meeting them in the middle of the map. You start having like a backstab prepared or something of the like. And the map no longer looks as overpowered as it did when it was first released. So there's going to be like a really big balance when map makers look at a situation like this and say, is it really overpowered, or is it just, you know, 2-base tank pushes are always going to be good initially? And it's up to the Zerg or the Protoss or what have you to kind of figure it out.
This is the slow siege up of death. More Banelings going to roll in. Lambo's been having a lot of trouble getting connections on these. These tanks have been fantastic out of Beasty, but the Liberator's also posing another problem. But that is going to be it. GG. Game number 2 goes to So it looks like the bot's down, but we're going to take a small break anyways for commercials, guys. So I got to go fix that. We'll spend 2 minutes on break. We'll come back for game 3. What map is it going to be, though, so people can look it up while we wait?
Oh, it's so far up. Hold on. New Gettysburg.
I thought you wrote these down.
I did. It's so far up in the chat logs.
Okay, well, this is going to be the island-based map, which will be kind of cool to see. So 2 minutes, guys. We'll see you soon. All right, folks, we're back. Thanks for watching. Bot should be good and running once again, and we'll be getting into New Gettysburg here in just a moment. This is going to be, for me, a really interesting map. Beasty already says he likes it, so I hope he's got plans. I hope we get to see some abuse for it, but boy, I really do love island bases. I've loved the concept of them. I played stupid map settings games back in Brood War with island bases. Like, this will be really cool, but we'll see how it plays out. Of course, shout out to ZvT. They've been joining us here for the cast. German brothers from another mother. And they've actually recently asked if they could join us on Civil War. So on the Civil War cast we got coming up, starts tomorrow actually. We're going to have both O Gaming and ZvT joining us for it. Be pretty cool, pretty fun. There is going to be another map test tournament, though. I want to point out, like, there's going to be 2 best of 9s every day this week. I think tomorrow's involves Scarlet. Oh, let's see if I can it's Scarlet and Bly is the first one. Then I think it's Snoot and Euthermal. I want to say with the second. I'll have to look that up on Team Lookout. I could be wrong, but we're gonna have some good matches tomorrow. Anyways, Beasty likes this one. He says best map hype in the bottom left side for this best of 9. He leads 2-0 presently. It's gonna be the yellow Terran player Beastyqt.
The bottom right as the blue Zerg, it is Lambo.
So the first thing I want to look at is not the natural or anything like that. I want to see what these island bases look like. Oh, so that's the air blockers. They're literally like just contained on these islands. There's also a straight up bridge in the middle of the map. This is like a really long arena.
Yeah, I was looking at that bridge more so when you were looking at the island maps. I was just like, so basically what this map does is it forces you not to use the middle of the map unless you're gonna really commit to like the middle of the map, you know?
But
like, this is very odd.
So I want to know, we haven't actually seen, this is new. I want to stress this, like these air blockers being used in this manner, guys, this is brand new. Okay, we've never seen a map like this before. What I do wonder though is what are the limitations of this? For example, if I have a siege tank set up over here and I scan to get over the air blocker over here, can I hit something on this platform? Can you shoot through the wall essentially?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering as well. I thought they were going to be a little bit more transparent, I suppose, like on the on merry-go-round, but you know, whatever works. Still looks cool. So this is really going to be interesting, and I would still say worrying for anyone but Terran. No matter what, Terran's going to have the better, like, initial, like, options for things that revolve around air, you know? And, like, maybe Zerg can go for a 2-base Muta, and that's, you know, also gives them a lot of options, but I don't think it's the ideal build anymore in Legacy of the Void. And Protoss, of course, like, I guess they can get a Warp Prism, and that's, you know, only minerals and whatever, but it's usually not their focus, unlike, you know, we always have Medivacs as Terran, so I do wonder if this is going to be extremely imbalanced, or if it's going to be surprisingly balanced because of the other options that are available, the other knickknacks on this map, like the bridge, that looks very, very odd as the Reaper goes through it.
I want to point out, by the way, this is going to have that same mechanic, but I think like, you just build like a depot or a pylon if you're really worried about this. But the rush distance is so much long. Like, it's not just a little bit longer like Arena. This is like insanely longer to have to go all the way around the map.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
But the nice thing is there is a watchtower up here. So if you're worried about that, like let's say, hypothetically, you're Mr. Protoss. You put a pylon to block off this ramp and a probe sits on this watchtower. You'll have plenty of warning from either side of like which and how you're going to need to defend.
Yeah. And assuming that you can take advantage of the very small bridge on the defense, whether that's with Ravagers or tanks or force fields for each race, then it is going to be more of about a map that is like, you know, the going around the island bases. And with such a long distance, Lambo should be pretty comfortable getting a macro game going.
Yeah, and I almost forgot to give credit here. Map author for this one is Jackie. And Jackie's already won the heart of Beastyqt with the map alone, just design-wise, even though we haven't actually played any games on it. Also, by the way, sick, I just realized there's like wreckage here of like a Hydralisk Corpse, tanks.
So, in the middle, there's like a Baneling Overlord or some shit. Like, I don't even know what that is.
Wait, where?
In the middle, you were on top of it. It's just, it looks like an Overlord died.
Oh.
But it's also like a Nidus Worm, I think.
It's
a
Nidus
Worm,
the head of a
right?
Nidus Worm, yeah.
It's the head of a Nidus Worm, and you can actually see the rest of the Nidus Worm. I didn't even know there was models of the rest of the Nidus Worm.
New Gettysburg, isn't that where Kerrigan got taken?
Yeah, that's the name of the video.
So, I mean, I know that this is like all war-torn, but that's kind of cool if that there would be like a homage somewhere, like...
Oh, let's look. I'm gonna look. You talk about
this. Yeah, you do Easter egg hunting while we look at what's going on. So BC already has control of the bridge. Obviously, with the supply depots, get some Hellions out. Can run across the map if he'd like. Come someone to kill this Ling. I do already like this for a macro style map though. Like, forget the island-based gimmicks. All right, maybe this ends up being like oh, what was that one Terran one that got revised like 10 times?
That's not.
Oh.
This is big enough. What else? Tile set or?
It was kind of similar to this. You remember there's like a lot of dead space in the middle part of the map?
It was a core hall map. You talking about that with like the logos?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was core hall something something. I hated it.
Well, regardless, my point of it is, you could remove the island-based gimmick. You could remove the bridge gimmick, and I still actually really like the design of the map. But hold the phone. We got a Nidus Worm. So if you're worried about a bridge, you're worried about island bases. You can Nidus Worm an island base if you really want to. But secondly, just Nidus the other side of the map where BC does have an opening here in his main.
Just seeing this map though, you think Nidus Worms were not a good idea? There's so many dead ones already. Anyways,
touche, Zombie Grub.
So I didn't find any Easter eggs. That's kind of.
If Beastie pulls his army back, I think he can possibly deal with this, considering there's only about 10 roaches. I guess the 6 queens are really, really scary, but does that Banshee have cloak? No. Oh, this is problems. This is problems. Let's see if he's gonna get pulled. Hellbat's gonna be made. He's gonna try his best to hold this location. That Banshee's gonna go down if she stays in there. She needs to be part of the fight, though. She's a lot of extra damage. Liberation's starting to set up.
Well, the Liberation's probably going to be able to take care of things. Even though the Liberators are getting target fire, they're still going down pretty slow,
well,
and all the roaches are so...
Look at that mass repair, though. Look at that mass repair, though.
Well, first they were on the Hellbats. The Hellbats are like what took out like 70% of those roaches because they're all stacked up, and this was cleaned up almost with ease. 10 SP still have gone down.
But he's got 3 CCs. He's miss... Oh, you can't float to an island base! Is there not enough room? BC may have just gone from loving this map to hating this map. We'll find out in a second.
I really wonder if there's not enough room, or that StarCraft 2 just doesn't have like AI appropriate for it, so you have to kind of like manually enter, like backing up into a.
That could be the case.
Space the car. I think you realize like you can't get in there.
So, okay, this suddenly makes this map really cool. It takes away the cool aspect of what I liked earlier where I said, like, oh, you're Terran, you contain 2 bases, you can go to an island base. But it also removes the ability for Terran to abuse the island bases. So, again, like, as much as I am pro-Terran, Oh, is he gonna try and squeeze in again?
Okay, let's see. Let's see. All right, is this like you gotta learn how like parallel
He
park?
shift
You
queued
know,
it.
like,
He shift queued it. Yeah.
no, you gotta go in now. It's not working.
I don't think there's enough space.
Wait, is it?
Wait.
Wait, it is.
So the
You
AI
have
is
to
just
control
incredibly
it.
stupid. You
Amazing.
can manually drive into this base, but you cannot like queue into it. Again, I want to
Amazing.
stress the AI may not be up to date for this, or because this is new. These air blockers were used one time only and on the edges of maps. They've never been used in the middle of the map before. So I think Beasty was having a moment where he was contemplating: do I like this map? Do I?
I just question life here. All right, so that is interesting, but if that is the case, that it can still be taken with a floating command center, then I still like this better for Terran.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny they have to provide more like micro into it, but I could.
Oh, it's
Go ahead.
borderline abusive. Because I mean, okay, you could Nidus this base. Nidus one's already in play.
Oh my god! And with the on like with the double, triple starport builds that are coming out, like
Yeah,
you're gonna
Terran-
take control of the air so early.
Well, this is where I think this map looks a lot different on the next balance patch, where these do less damage to things like corruptors. So you can get corruptors, you can get broodlords over there if like you're really worried about this. But there's no
we
way.
still don't.
Like even without that, you could still just do missile turrets and defend against mutas. They've got nowhere to maneuver around.
We still don't know if the air blockers are also like some type of odd like attack blockers too, which would be amazing. But I don't know if that actually exists in StarCraft. So we're still waiting to see on that one. And unfortunately, because
it's bad.
Lambo went for a Nidus Worm that really it did
Failed.
okay at the end. It killed like 28 workers, I think. Yeah, 28 workers. The game's not over, but it did start off a lot weirder. Okay.
Well,
like fine.
I say it failed only because usually when you go for Nidus of that variety, it's meant to kill. It's not meant to like even up the game and macro out of it.
It was on 3 base. I would say 28 workers is actually okay amount to kill.
Okay, well this is again, I really like this base, guys. This is hilarious for a lot of different reasons, but we do have pure air coming out of Beastyqt. And as Nightmare had mentioned this moments ago, but I want to go into the fact that yes, these like triple starport builds where you don't even bother with ground, you just go like mass Liberator, mass Viking, mass Banshees, they're becoming more popular. But it is worth noting that they're also totally able to be dealt with if you respond appropriately. And I like that Lambo's going towards a hive, because we all know how goddamn good Parasitic Bomb can be.
Yeah. Has he recognized it as a mass air build, though? Because of the Nidus Worm, it did take Beastyqt a while longer to get those additional starports and actually go into this composition. Yeah, he hasn't seen it. He saw like 2 additional tech labs, which I don't know is enough. I guess he saw the amount of Liberators, which might tell him enough, too. But as long as he knows, then yes, like, Viper's definitely a good option. Maybe eventually those double Spire upgrades that we saw him trying to get last game, because he thought it was going to be this build, might be a good option as well. Unfortunately, again, because of the Nidus Worm, like things aren't really perfect for either player, and Lambo's not at that huge bank that he would like to be at.
So Lord, I just realized something here as we continue to think about these island bases. Not an orbital, but let's say a planetary. How do you even deal with that? You can't drop Marines into that. You can't. There's nowhere to outrange that. You can't warp in zealots into a planetary fortress.
Well, there's enough space, isn't there? No, actually, you're probably right. There might be like enough space in the top right near the gas geyser.
Actually, the only space I could see would maybe be behind the mineral line.
Yeah, behind the mineral line there. The next to the gas geyser in the top base. I think there's like tiny spaces, but you're right. It adds some complication, especially if we see like high-sec auto tracking upgraded first.
Well, anyways, we got Hyperflight Rotors. This is a speed upgrade for Banshees coming up next. I really don't understand this. The old Reaper Grenade upgrade looks better than the new one with the blades, because they literally get an extra jet that comes out from underneath the things. They don't spin faster. They actually just get straight up a jetpack.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Okay,
again, I want to stress, like, I really think even if these island maps or bases, excuse me, were removed and the map was kept the same, this would still be a really cool map in my opinion.
I agree, but I'm actually, initially you think island maps, easily accessible, new builds revolving around air. Terran's got to have this map in the bag, right?
Well,
but as they expand to the bottom, Zerg should be expanding to the top fairly freely.
So you're still taking like base for base. I guess the difference is like the level of harass that you can perform. Now there are going to be about 5 parasitic bombs for this. I think Abduct's maybe a little bit better depending on what he's trying to kill, but parasitic bomb, if handled correctly, can be made a pretty terrible spell, but if handled incorrectly for even a few seconds, can be the most devastating damage in the game.
Yeah. BC, might have gone too heavy on the Banshees. I'm not sure. That's a lot of Liberators. Abduct's going down first.
See, I don't like
maybe
this. I don't like Abducts in that
I don't like
situation.
abducting Banshees, especially. Oh, that was odd.
Well, he's going to land some Crystal Battles on top of the Liberators, get some decent hits, but with the Banshees here, there's nothing for these Ravagers to do, and the Vipers are going to die, and Lambo, man, that was poorly handled.
That was absolutely terrible of a push, and Lambo knows that he's trying to get away now. And, okay, that's really awkward. Now, luckily, Lambo, he was maxed out, all right? So that's probably why he felt the necessity to push. You know, what else am I really going to do? I should have a great supply lead. I should be good. It went really poorly. So his remax, not quite a remax, probably will save him?
I don't know. So this is questionable because you have two big threats here. The Liberators is one. Obviously, they'll one-shot most of the Hydras. But furthermore, the Banshees, they're so fast.
Yeah, if he can catch the Liberators on siege, he's going to be able to take them out one by one, but fortunately it's not happening. His Overseers are getting picked off eventually too, and that's stopping him from dealing with these Banshees as they're all pretty low.
Yeah, fair point would be Spore Crawlers could break this, and he does have Spore Crawlers. Instead, he's insisting on the Hydras, pushes forward. We'll take out a couple of the Liberators initially, losing a lot of the Hydras in the process, however.
Worked out well enough. You know, Beastyqt, again, it sucks he's gonna lose a base. Or not. No, he saves it. Beastyqt's not having like an instant remax either, despite being on 4 bases. He doesn't have that much of a bank. In fact, too much of a gas bank right now.
I wonder, by the way, how effective Overlord creep blocking would be on this map. Like, if you have a Terran player who took the time to fly this far up for a base, he just dropped creep, you could really screw them.
This is what the Banshees are really, really good at, by the way. Like, yes, if they're in the army, they'll do a lot of damage, not focus fired, Overseer dead, that type of stuff. But yeah, cutting out reinforcements, but just base sniping. If you know that they're going to be expanding to the top right, and their army's probably going to follow with it, then you know, Spore Crawlers will not cover against 6 Banshees or more. So, snipes a hatchery. Not the ideal hatchery, as that was already kind of mined out, but...
Chat brings up an interesting question that once again brings in the topic of these air blockers. Can you warp prism mode a warp prism outside of the air blocker, but have the warp power field inside?
There's so many questions. I was reading the Liberation Zone one. Like, I need to do like science on this.
Can we do all chat? Can you ask BC just try liberating inside one of these island bases from the outside?
If it wasn't an actual tournament, I would have.
Yeah, that's true. There's money on the line. We could probably muck around with this on our own. All these maps are available for the public, by the way, guys. If any of you guys want to do some sciencey type stuff and contribute to the testing, but
just search TLMC7, you'll get all of the maps. They easily organize it.
Nice. Now, of course, all these bases taken over here for BC. As you mentioned before, it's hard to do that remax, but now he's got 5 starports up, and at this point, I mean, he doesn't actually have an army supply lead, as funny as that is to consider. Like, the damage he's done is great. He's been untouchable through this. But now Lambo's got those Vipers back into play. He's got a mostly Hydralisk army, so his anti-air capabilities are certainly here. And while a lot of these Spore Crawlers look silly, why the hell not if he keeps these bases alive?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an increasing problem for both players. You have Banshees roaming around, but as Beastyqt, I'm not sure he'll be able to push forward to the other 2 island bases. It would be really funny if that was his plan. But if it's not, and he expands to the north, then Lambo's also going to have some pretty good opportunities to harass as well. Oh, Liberators, no.
No. Flying Socks, look out for those. Alright, so the Liberators go down. BC, by the way, was going to stop in the middle of the map with his Evolution Chamber block. I kind of like that. That's cool to see, but Abduct's going off. These are better uses of Abducts. A Parasitic Bomb will not kill a Banshee full to dead, but an Abduct will in that case. So that's a lot better use of them. But look what BC's going for. And I'm wondering if we're going to get to see... yes, we will! Battle Cruisers!
I'm not really sure that's the best answer, but regardless of that, I want to bring up that Lambo's not upgrading anymore. I don't know why.
That's a problem. But here's actually where I'm starting to see some battlecruiser hype, okay? And this comes from my terrible use of battlecruisers. I say this, but in fairness, like, I did master battlecruisers.
You are the master of battlecruisers because you're the only one that uses them. Just accept that.
Okay. All these bases from Lambo were made low through these several attacks, but none really died. If the battlecruisers warp in, or even just walk over and snipe them off to warp out, they will get out of there alive, or they'll get in and die for killing bases. Easily worth it this late into the game, especially when you're killing a Zerg player's larva production, much less their bank.
That's a good point.
Battlecruisers is also pretty good against not fully upgraded Hydralisks. If you get that ship armor going, like, they are untouchable. But he's not going for armor. It's just Yamato. It's just weapon upgrades. BC's got a really strong army. Like, there's no mistaking that.
Okay, so last time Lambo really pushed into the army, it went very, very poorly. I'm sure he's thinking about that and not looking to make the same mistakes. A lot of that was because he had a mostly Roach Ravager army. This time it's mostly Hydras, which are going to be able to take out the air a lot quicker.
That Planetary is blinded as well. He's going to try and repair it. Does he have building armor? He doesn't, so it's going down really quick. Liberator's coming in. This might just be too many Hydras. Battlecruisers can certainly deal the damage, but they can't take the hits right now. Liberators and Battlecruisers alike have thinned out most of the Hydras, but BC's left with 51 army supply. I don't think that's going to be enough to hold on to the rest of this army.
He started to get a bank, too. He just wasn't able to use it on 4 starports with the production of Battlecruisers, I guess. So that's unfortunate. In this case, even going for 1,700 minerals worth of Hellions would have helped out.
Look at this. This choke's actually working really well for him. The Hydra's kind of derping into this. A lot of them are going down, but hold the phone, Zombie Up. These aren't even the mining bases that are really dying. They're still going strong on the islands.
I guess that's true, and you know, it's Legacy of the Void. None of these guys really have that much of a bank, so Lambo, should he lose all of his army here, would have trouble remaxing. He took out 2 bases, looking for a third, not going to get it. But now production's starting to go down, and that's starting to get worrying for Beastyqt. 2 of his starports just went down.
But almost all the Hydras are gone. With that being removed from the problem, he can deal with these roaches slowly but surely. I mean, worst case scenario at this point, he just lifts the starports. But this was a good push out of Lambo, considering how badly his last attack went. Now, Beasty's had the money, minerals-wise, to just lift, and what he doesn't lift, he just rebuilds, so not a problem losing these command centers. We got extra starports coming down on the island bases!
Well, those will be pretty safe.
For now. Again, I really think like just suiciding an Overlord for Nidus Worm would remove so much of these problems, but this,
Well, yeah, it would, but Lambo can't afford it. He didn't have a super big bank when he went in there, then he lost 2 of his very important mining bases, so this game is actually starting to like kind of teeter back into Beastyqt's favor. If he's going to have more consistent mining, it's just a production issue right now, and well, in multiple ways. And 1, he doesn't have that much production, but 2, like his production that he has is super duper slow. He's making battlecruisers.
Well, what I think is really cool, someone in chat's bringing this up, and again, I'm looking at the chat for a lot of their like knowledge, we'll say here. And I love the idea of a swarm host, because look at this right here. This is a perfect opportunity to put here, launch locusts into the base. Now, they haven't been adjusted yet, but swarm hosts are going to cost significantly less in the future. More supply, less gas. But the point is, it's something you could actually, or at least less minerals. Point is, locust waves can be devastating if Lambo was thinking about it.
Well, would it have the same like issue as the command centers?
Actually, the locusts could not get into the southern bases at all. Maybe from here.
Well, actually, that'd be so hilarious.
But this base would be completely safe.
I wonder if it would be an issue as the same as command center, though. We have to like, you can't manually control those when they're in the air, right?
Well, the command center is big, and I think that's why it issue getting in. The locusts
That's probably true. I really want to see that happen, though. We had someone confirm, by the way, it was only air blockers. Like, it doesn't affect the Warp Prism Liberation Zone.
So that actually could attack through it. Okay, that's interesting.
I really want to see him do it, though. Like, I just want to see how stupid that looks.
Yeah.
Come on, do it.
Liberators derping around to try and kill the Overlord that is dropping creep. Again, this was something I think Lambo should have been doing earlier on. Maybe you wouldn't have had these island bases be so problematic. Yeah, that was awkward. But at this stage, like, what's funny is there's not a lot here that's too worried. Like, you can let the Liberators get to the main. They're going to shut down larva, that's it. Like, they can't target buildings. It's not going to be a problem in that regard. More battlecruisers being made behind this time. BC's going for armor. I like to see that quite a bit. Lambo picking up on his Carapace upgrades, but not going for +3 on weapons. The pathogen glands is going to certainly be interesting. We'll see if that comes into great effect or not. Man, that's a lot of Vipers, Zombie Grub. This is, you remember when we were casting Scarlet, we said 8 Vipers, and 10 Vipers were too much? This is 13 bloody Vipers.
Too much. They ended up working, so I guess you could knock it so hard. But what's interesting about the Fungals now is that a battlecruiser army, I feel... Okay, Fungal's going to be good no matter what. If they catch something that's already bulked up, then it's going to stay bulked up. But as far as like their damage against battlecruisers, it's not going to do that much. It's really going to be a wombo combo, as we have a mostly battlecruiser army coming out.
I think the idea is you abduct the battlecruisers, you parasitic bomb everything else. Of course, again, having used battlecruisers, what's really cool though is if you do get stuck, you can warp out. There's this tactical jump ability now, and it's instantaneous. It's like a blink. It's like a recall, but you become invulnerable while recalling. So you can get out of any situation. Also, BC's got a couple of units here and there that are kind of just lost on them. Well, there answers our question right there, too. The chat did. Turrets can shoot outside the wall, but things can't shoot in. Cool.
Confirmed.
But the Liberators are stuck. It's so stupid. Can you imagine trying to take like an actual dogfight, chase mutas around these air blockers? Like that would go so poorly.
It'd be very odd. So I really was wondering if Beastyqt is going to be allowed to do this, and the fact that Lambo allowed it to happen, he couldn't do very much against it, of course, with the composition he went for, but still, to go for the bottom right bases. Okay, thank God, he's Night Swarming it. Never mind, okay. Because I was going to say, if Beastyqt gets down to the farthest right two island bases, that's just...
tactical jump. Reinforcing on top. This is going to make sure the base doesn't go down. This is so sick. I love this. He's got a drop that comes out here, too. Oh, it's SCVs, never mind. But the Night Swarm's taken care of. This is a non-issue for the time being. Maybe we'll see this get used better, later, but Night Swarm coming to the natural base right now. Ooh. You know, this isn't all of BC's production. Most of it was moved to the island, but this is still vulnerability. He gets to the heart of his base broken, but this is a choke that I don't think Lambo should actually want to fight in. He's got a fungal growth, the Liberators.
Again, the fungal growth doesn't really affect the battle cruisers unless there's some serious, like, parasitic bombs as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, Hydra concave, so that was not very worrying. Not like if you had like a bunch of Banshees getting fungled. I guess it's a little bit of supply block. I can't believe that Beastyqt is remaxing faster. That's because Lambo's bulking up money for whatever reason, whatever he's waiting for.
He was remaxing faster. Now he's supply blocked, which is a bit awkward.
Well, and Lambo hadn't used his larva might have been the problem too. I guess larva had just popped. So still, the fact that they're both remaxing around the same rate is awfully surprising, considering that they're both at like 100 supply-ish with like 300 minerals in the bank. But they allowed each other to have consistent mining. Now we have the gold base, which I kind of forgot was a gold base. So there you go. A lot more minerals, faster. And Lambo still dominates the top half of the map.
I mean, there's a considerable amount of spell casting too, but it's the parasitic or sorry, not the parasitic bombs, the neural parasites that interest me. Their range was buffed a little while back, so once again you can parasitic or neural parasite from a very far distance away. But if he grabs the battle cruiser, it's not necessarily about getting one or two, but if you can take half of these out of the fight, that reduces so much of what kills the Hydras.
That's what I was going to say. You really have to have more than one or two, and that can be very difficult to do because, you know, sometimes infestors, they go down first, you know, just, you know, it happens, pathing and whatever. And sometimes they do target fire, realizing your intention, so...
So BC's getting ready for Ravens behind this, but to be honest, I wish he'd recognize that like 3 ghosts would completely wreck Lambo's army.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like a couple of EMPs. Like you remember we were casting Forte? Like he was just EMPing like nuts and shutting down like Vipers and Infestors alike. The Ravens, though, for those who don't know, sorry, the Shrapnel upgrade actually increases the damage of the auto turrets and the Seeker missile by 30%.
Sensor towers, yeah, those work. Those are things. Put like 4 of them down at once. This is a very odd way to split a map. I just want to throw that out there.
How does that fly over this building, by the way?
Magic.
It like scrapes the bottom.
Lambo never took... Imagine that SpongeBob episode where it's like, you're good. You're good. Lambo never took his naturally. He didn't even bother. It is really about the top half of this game now, as Beastyqt also needs to take his top left base. He's in a little bit of trouble here. Abducts should be pretty darn good against these Liberators. And fortifying a fortified position.
Diving forward. Neural. Tactical jump breaks the neural by the looks of it. That's kind of cool to see.
I really would favor Lambo's army in a kind of
look at this clump.
Up
Parasitic
position.
bombs, please.
As long as he never takes a full-on engagement and keeps him just poking at these units, only taking, you know, 1 or 2 attacks on those battle cruisers, I think Lambo would win out.
Well,
Spellcaster's pretty good.
Yeah, well, the problem is that if you have to rebuilding spellcasters, the time it takes to build the energy up again, like that's another big problem with this as well. Whereas BC's not worried about that. Like anything he builds right away, he can attack with right away too.
That's a pretty good point. But Lambo has the option now, as they both have humongous banks, to put on evolution chambers on the front line, more spore crawlers.
That's true. I'm actually more of the Infestors than the Vipers, but that's a good point.
Oh, that's true.
One of the other things that's kind of interesting we've seen Lambo doing is turn down infested Terrans into the Liberation Zones. Liberators will prioritize things that are attacking them over things that aren't, so the infested Terrans soaking hits instead of the Hydras is always going to be better. But there's a grab on one of the battle cruisers. He's going to try to neural parasite as many as possible. Beastie trying to teleport them away to safety, but now he's got to fight his own units or fight those. But unfortunately, as Beastie charges in, he's actually taking terrible fights. Yamato cannons are firing left and right. Infested Terrans are going down. We're going to see if this push actually ends up breaking Beastie. Looks like Lambo's going to back away for the time being, though. This is not quite ready. Not just yet.
I really wonder if it's even worth engaging when your battlecruisers are stolen. They're still kind of far out, you know, and like
Well,
they might not focus fire. They're trying to get it to kill your Liberator.
There's also the risk that Lambo just uses it to hold still while he kills it. I mean, you really want to get that unit out alive, but
yeah.
oh, we got something going on down here. What's this? Just Overlords.
Overlords. But then
you know what? Oh my
saying,
god!
though,
If you build turrets in just the right way, you can actually block any positioning for a Nidus Swarm to even have a chance to spawn. It's like a 9x9 grid, or 3x3, excuse me.
Yeah, it's not that big, Jesus. But yeah, that is stupid, but yes. But I mean, with the neural parasites, they're still like their range might have been that's silly. Their range might have been increased, but it's still dangerous, and Yamato could probably still hit those infestors. I think Lambo's gonna give up on the idea of the neural parasite. It worked mediocre, right? Like they both traded.
I like the idea of the neural parasite, but the one thing I'm not liking is we have yet to see Lambo really use parasitic bomb, which I think would be hugely influential. It's obviously not going to wreck the battlecruisers all in one attack, but the fact that he's not doing any, that's a lot of free damage he's missing out on, especially with how clumped up Beastie's army's been.
That's true. I'm guessing he doesn't, as you were talking about the energy earlier, like you would have just used all your energy, and battlecruisers have so much health, they would have survived most of them, so maybe he's really worried that it would cause Beastyqt to push in.
What's interesting is as Lambo starts taking Beastie's side of the map too, Beastie's not mining a lot of gas.
Man.
And if he has to repair or rebuild, eventually he won't have the gas to do that. He'll have a lot of minerals, but not necessarily the gas.
I definitely agree with you, but like after like 28 minutes of no parasitic bombs, there's got to be a reason he's not doing it. He just forgot it existed. He's like, it's hard to swarm again.
Well, Double Spire starts researching, so we may see Corruptors come out at some point, but I think the Carapace upgraded benefits the Vipers would be really nice too. Planetary Fortress put down as well. That's kind of cool to see.
It is going to be about this position, and slowly they're going to both try and go to the even more north. As Beastyqt realizes Lambo took that base, he's going to have to also realize he needs to kill that base. Like they're getting into mining out the map territory. And whoever has the most mining, you know, might win. It's
like Swarm Host, but without the Swarm Host. You know what I mean?
It is. Okay, so that's the thing we're missing. We're missing Swarm Host for just the very, very, very long siege up, which is what sucks most about them. But we're still missing Ghosts. Not for the EMPs necessarily, but I'm also seeing a lot of opportunities for maybe snipes, but I was talking about nukes.
Yeah, nuke can push back some of these spore crawlers. Actually,
the spore crawlers, and the entire lower and right side of the map just has nothing guarding it except spore crawlers. So
one of the things we often discuss when it comes to discussing things like swarm hosts is the fact that you don't have enough time to make use of them. This is one of those maps where I think you would have had time to make use of them.
Yeah, their cooldown is like a minute. Okay, it's extreme, right? But if that means breaking down missile turrets, it's super long.
It's long.
But if it means breaking down a missile turret with each round, then it's probably going to be worth it. Like spellcasters and free units are obviously going to be the best things to have in this scenario.
Yeah. Now this gets he's starting to kill some things straight up with the Vipers. Again, I really kills me not seeing parasitic bombs, but I know Lambo's a good player, he's a smart player, so I'm not criticizing for it. But as you said, it's like 30 minutes in. I think both players have got a certain degree of force blinders on at this point. Abduct's going to be going off to break the liberation zones.
I don't know about this. Oh, Jesus.
That's a lot of Yamatos. There's some parasitic bombs coming into the army to force Beastie to back away temporarily, start splitting. And look at this. Like, it's not destroying the battlecruisers, but that's a lot of damage and enough to force him back.
Yeah, that looks so scary with all those liberation zones, but he did power through it and still saved most of his army. Of course, most of his army being a lot of those infestors right now.
Okay, let's do math.
He has to give up on it.
Parasitic Bomb does, like, what? They reduced it to 60 damage. So, I mean, it would literally take, like, almost 10 Parasitic Bombs to kill a battlecruiser. But the point of it is, it doesn't hit just one. It hits all of the things around it too. So it does significantly more than 60 damage. But I loved finally getting to see that in play. Now BC does have a bank backup now.
Transferring workers with a medevac?
He has been transferring workers with a medevac zombie grub. This is like the rail system.
I saw 8 things in a medevac, and I don't know what I assumed.
I thought it was a drop earlier. Remember when we had the night? I was like, oh, he's coming out with a drop. Oh, wait, it's SCVs.
He made 8 Marines in a starport just to get some harassment.
Nope, it's all SCVs. So Infested Terrans, no. Oh, Neural Parasite on top of the tanks is kind of a sick move.
For what, though? I guess killing maybe a missile.
Take advantage of nothing going on.
This is what it was like. Their parasites aren't long enough that they're gonna die to the Yamatos. I really think you should give up on the idea. As cool as it is.
Yeah. That may be part of it too, like getting rid of the supply but just doing it effectively. I don't know. I think the Infested Terran spam has actually been pretty nice. Abduct's gonna start going off as he does grab these up to the high ground.
This is silly. What's attacking the command center?
It was tanks earlier.
Oh, I guess
so I'm wondering actually, hang on. no Parasite doesn't do, or Fungal Growth does like what, 30 damage? 30 plus 60. I mean, like those two things combined, Parasitic Bomb chaining off of that. Even if you were to lose one per cycle, I think you can still get a lot of damage done. But enough about that, because we do have straight up fighters coming into play. So he's lost all the supply. He had the money. Now he's made a ton of Corruptors, which do have admirable upgrades. Coming up on +2 and 2 in just a moment.
Still wish there was more nukes. 30 Corruptors might just be it, though.
I think both players have been missing out on opportunities, but it's really cool. I love... This was a macro map made by Jackie, and it is absolutely a macro map. Like,
it's working, man. It wasn't easily abused by the Terran as maybe actually, as it looked, and
it's straight up split. They have every base taken on the map now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think in some regards, mission accomplished on this map. In others, maybe not. It's so broken watching those bases in the islands. I would have loved to have seen Lambo have taken at least one of them, but I guess without, all things considered, like you got the Overlords that could easily drop. The Nidus Swarm could have come in. I don't know. But okay, Dogfight might finally come into play. We're going to have those Corruptors dance forward into the fight. Vikings were made, but Parasitic Bombs hitting this army once again. Again, that's 60 damage to everything it's hitting. That's scary stuff to look at.
Oh my god.
But the Liberators. Oh my.
Those Corruptors, though.
So Lambo forgot.
Queen transfuse.
Lambo forgot a key aspect here where you need to split the units when you're fighting Liberators.
Yeah, I heard that's a pretty good thing to do.
Also, but it is worth noting, even if all these did die, which would have sucked and not been cost effective, but if they did die, that did take out the Liberators, so now the Hydras potentially can start fighting again.
Yes,
Liberators like one-shotting each of these Hydras is just completely making them unviable for most of these fights.
Yeah, that's one thing I worried about actually again for the Corruptors. If there's a lot of transfuses on those queens, the Corruptors come in round 2 very quickly. They're still pretty damaged though, and there's not enough Liberators to take them down. This time they are split, which certainly helps.
Parasitic Bombs, please. No, he targets down all the Vipers, but here comes those Hydras finally getting back into the fight. Battlecruisers can fight for a long time. They're strong units with how much armor is that? 6? Oh my god. They are lasting for way too long in this fight. But this is so much of BC's army. Recognizing this as well, he starts falling back because he doesn't have the bank to build another battlecruiser army.
The Corruptors start bulking up again as the Liberators are still being made from Beastyqt. It's very, very close, but no more resorts to back onto. No, Lambo's not going to chase.
Battlecruisers. One of the things, too, is those battlecruisers could have warped out. He used so much energy on Yamato cannons, which you could argue was good or not, but he could have kept a lot of them alive had he teleported away.
That's a good point. I don't think you're thinking about it in the main engagement. It's too bad. More Liberators are on the way as he realizes Corruptor is kind of the main threat right now. Keep what battlecruisers you have alive.
That's where you use a queen to infest the command center, right? That's how that works?
Dude, I wish.
Oh, that's another Nidus Orb. Oh shit, that thing's huge.
Nidus Orbs are big, man. I guess that makes sense.
It's like a giant tapeworm, but for the planet. Ugh.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed during that fight was Lambo was pretty low on gas. Now it's not much of a problem. They both have a okay gas bank. Oh, 5 more Clippers are just made. But I was talking about the queens. So Lambo starts using his mineral bank with queens because Lings are like, what are they gonna do now? And I think that's definitely a good choice.
I don't like that he didn't remake any Vipers though. Because look what's coming up next. Ravens, which is something that would have been really, really handy to have Abducts for.
Is that Liberator stuck?
Yeah, it's been stuck for a while. God.
It's like a hermit crab in a cage.
Get me out! Hello? Hello? No, hello? Anyone? Hello? Come on. Alright, the Liberator Army is insane. This is something the Corruptors won't deal with. This is something the Queens might not even be able to deal with. This is where you really, once again, maybe want things like Parasitic Bombs and whatever. But he's not gone for them, and that's fine. We'll respect his decision, yada, yada, yada. I'm so worried, though, because these Ravens, each of those Secret Missiles, I think, is going to do, like, what, 130 now with the upgrade? 130, yeah. 130 splash damage to units like Corruptors, which were, A, going to be taking volleys from Liberators, and B, clumped up in the first place. These Ravens could be so actually sick, depending on how much energy they have when this engagement goes down. I mean, point defense drone I don't even think would be too favorable here. There's so much queens, they'll soak up the point defense drones immediately.
So...
Oh! So this was an iBase?
No, that's not me too. I guess he noticed how many queens there were and is going back into tanks as well. This might just be the 4 tanks that he lost out on earlier as he realizes that they could be good. No, actually, it'd be more than that. Yeah, he already has some. So, yeah, he's going back into tanks straight up. I mean, Corruptors will help against the air, but then what about the ground army after that?
I still think EMPs would be pretty favorable, especially when you do see a lot of queens.
EMPs and nukes would have saved Beastyqt a lot of hassle.
Solar 424 has got it. Newkirk Precinct was the map I was thinking of earlier, by the way.
Oh, I could have sworn I had a core hall in it. Damn it.
Newkirk Precinct, thank you. So that was bothering me for this whole game. It's been on like the edge of my mind grapes. Just been trying to pick them.
Please don't say that.
Why not? It's a 30 Rock reference. Come on. All right, 30 creepers in the sky, 29 or 23 queens on the ground, and a lot of spore crawlers. The problem is, I don't think any of those numbers add up to something that can beat this army.
I didn't even realize. I thought about this like minutes ago, but I was like, Lambo never took his natural base. It still has minerals on it. I guess he retook it.
Yeah, you're gonna need to. I mean, this is straight up mined out. We're gonna see this game go to attrition, and I think it's gonna be in BC's favor.
I think so as well. The siege tanks ended up being a beautiful decision. Of course, now those brood lords are definitely necessary, as if he did just leave, like, you know, corruptors and queens as an attack force, the tanks probably would have gone out with everything else. Brood lords might help, but they also might just die to the air war that we are about to see. I mean, like, Lambo really can't give up this base unless he starts trying to do like a base trade, but I can't imagine what happening.
Planetaries, walls of turrets, it's like really hard to push through
and
into any location.
Walls, like, yeah, I can imagine the brood lords messing up in the middle of the map trying to kill those island bases.
Corruptors are trying to spread out a little bit.
Oh, the secret missiles are very obvious though.
Oh, he's gonna fly him into his own army though! Ooh. Oh, that was so sick out of Lambo! Takes the corruptors that were targeted, splashes Beasty's own army. Now the corruptors are gonna kill what's left of the sky, and with nothing left remaining to fight with, Beasty has to fall back. But what does he fall back to? I guess turrets.
He has a bit of a bank, but oh no, not doesn't have any gas bank. Oh, I'll start making those marines, buddy. Like
this reminds me of that game Yumi and Nathaniel used to play in Arkham mode, where we realized like, oh, you got to swap over to marines or we're gonna lose this game. Like, use what little gas you have left to maximize the efficiency of your mineral units.
Yeah, we're pretty amazing. So this is looking, it's gonna go in favor of Lambo. I mean, that secret missile thing was really, really cool, but just in general, it looked like the army fight was gonna go better. The tanks did most of their job, taking out a lot of the queens, but they were easily remade, as, you know, the mineral bank has not been the main problem, and losing this base is actually huge. I don't know what BaseTrade can do if he's gonna lose his bases to broodlords, basically.
Man, that feel when you realize corruptors have almost as much armor as a battlecruiser, but cost like a third of the cost.
Well, I guess it's almost as much, right? A couple of Hellions being made, I guess, maybe to help out against the broodlings. I mean,
like Vikings,
there's really not much point in countering. There's like not that many drones.
I really like Vikings for this situation, and not because of the brood lords or anything, but well, they're also gonna be able to hit and run, whereas the battlecruisers can't. They have to hit or run. They don't get to do both. Yeah,
that's certainly a good point, and they probably could have been made a lot earlier too to do that, but I mean, I'm also talking about ghosts and just opportunities missed. Now, Beastyqt still has probably another good army fight in him, as both of them are not going to get maxed out too quickly, and this Viking control is actually working out really well as a broodlord left alone.
Clicking with those like infinite transfuses though, it's definitely frustrating to see, but more liberators on the way. BC's looking to still fight this game out. It's worth noting some of his island bases are still mining, so he's not totally screwed. This base over here is still pretty fresh, but he just got broken so hardcore. And I feel like for Lambo, what you guys have to realize is Lambo doesn't have any more income coming behind this. Like, he's pretty much out of bases and out of gas. So this is his last big fight. Transfusion's going down like crazy, but these Vikings still come out ahead. He's going to fall back to the Liberators, hoping these corruptors start stacking up as they chase. There's no more anti-ground.
To be worrying with such a low, like a odd low ground army, to be worried about going up a ramp. But he went up a ramp with his queens against tanks that are still alive. He left the broodlords off to the left, easily sniped by the Vikings.
I think BC's got it.
Probably. And Missile starts helping out as well. Yeah, he definitely has it.
There's like one lone broodlord in the sky with almost no health. I mean, that's it. Lambo's got no more gas. He's had no gas for such a long time. All these bases have been mined out. That was his last big push, whether he realized it or not.
That's game. He can remax on queens and lings and like maybe a spellcaster or two to really make like a key unit. But
what I really love though is we come down to the end of this game, and like there's a lot of moments in this game that were kind of looking broken, for sure, but they still got dangerously close. Like Beasty seriously was almost SOL. And again, I go back. Let's say 3 parasitic bombs were in that army. I think Beasty very well may have even lost.
Yeah, that is true. This was a very, very close sick game. So kudos to the map maker again. This map ended up not being imbalanced, and it did end up like kind of like what I was talking about. Like, you know, the Zerg expands to the top, Terra expands to the bottom. It worked out that way, but it looks like Beastyqt might just have it. He does still have issues with his own bank a little bit, but obviously not as many as Lambo.
Well, Jackie's made like a really cool map and all this good stuff. What I really like though is this is TVZ on this map. We still potentially will see PvP today and later ZvZ and ZvP and all the matchups. I would love to see how they all look on this map.
Yeah, it is going to be super interesting. But with tanks now covering the air and vice versa, there's nothing this army of Lambo can do.
I feel bad, by the way. I told Puck and Hearthstone, like, I don't know, hour and a half, something like that, like maybe. Like, this game alone was 42 minutes. GG. All right, well, guys, that was about the duration of 2 games. So I know we just played ads before this one, but we're going to play commercials again. So we'll be back in a moment. Small break as we get into game number 4. Beastie leads 3-0. We'll see you guys in 2 minutes. Okay, but let's hop into Galactic Process as everyone's ready to get this party started. So again, a little bit reminiscent of Cloud Kingdom just through the first 3 bases, but again, I'm curious if these side hallways are ever really going to be utilized. With the game changing and being what it is now, Legacy of the Void, I really, truly don't think there's as much opportunity, as there was in things like Wings of Liberty. It's just so much more efficient to use boosted medevacs than walk a squad of Marines around the side. But we'll explore the map in a moment. He's currently up 3-0, spawning in the bottom left side. Here in the Blizzard Map Test Tournament, it's going to be the yellow Terran Beastyqt.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, it is Invasion Esports Lambo.
So quickly double zooming out. A lot of space in the main. Already a little bit alarming for things like Netazorms or Blinkstalkers, but pause on that for now. We'll see if it actually comes into play. Your natural also pretty spacious, and this is where I get really worried about it because, and this might be the only opportunity I think there is really for the banana secret tasteless hallways to get used, because you'll notice it feeds directly into the natural. But there's rocks, there's ways around the bases, there's more rocks over here, I guess. Is that force fielded rocks? What is that?
It's just a structure.
But it's a ramp, so I think you can break it, whatever it is. Anyways, uniqueness aside, just kind of cool to see that those feet are on the map like that. So that could be a problem, maybe, and maybe not. Third base is covered by rocks, so really you only do have... Oh, there we go. That's kind of a cool force filter on the rocks.
Yeah, that's definitely breakable. That's certainly interesting.
So this is the only way into the base initially, but you can open up many pathways later on.
Yeah, so the map's all interesting and whatnot. You brought up Blinkstalkers and, of course, Reapers. Beastyqt is going for Mass Reaper.
Yeah, 3 racks Reaper.
I was gonna, we said it looked like Cloud Kingdom, and there certainly are similarities as well as differences. It's not as much surface area that existed on Cloud Kingdom for Blinkstalkers, but there still is enough to really make a 3 racks Reaper build work here. Especially since it's Reapers, not Stalkers, that are, bigger and usually in larger numbers. So this is going to be actually, I don't want to say impossible for Lambo to hold, but very difficult. Because he still hasn't scouted it.
I do like seeing some cheese mixed up, but you know what's kind of scary with all this dead space? Beastie could probably hide a bunker. Maybe not here. I was going to say even on the left side without maybe being scouted too easily, but a bunker comes down nonetheless, and I guess says, you know what, I'm not playing another 42-minute game on a quote-unquote macro map.
Yeah, that's true. I honestly I forgot it was 5-0, by the way, versus 5, so it's not even the last game.
By the way, also, there's a build from Ruff a little while back versus Sulky, if you remember. I actually think would be fantastic on this map.
It'd be really funny, because you could probably hide the planetary.
Right, you just build the command center like right here, float up to the top of this ramp. I mean, damn, that'd be dangerous, but a bunker's still good nonetheless. It's going to house those Reapers up. Another bunker's actually coming down, a little bit bold.
Bold, very bold. Yeah, well, if you have the minerals for it, and of course, wanting to put down the bunker on the ramp is really working out as well. It's very difficult to actually, stop Beastyqt from giving up this position and just going to that mineral line. Now, I still want to keep the bunker alive. Barely saves the SCV. Oh my god, it's gonna be able to repair. Oh my god. I
can't believe that thing's alive with 1 health, and I don't think Lambo can either, because now it's gonna get to this point where I don't know if he can necessarily deal with this.
Yeah, it's not a very small map, so the Reaper reinforcements, just loses 1 right there, is not snowballing as quickly as maybe on some other ones, but it is still, 4 Reapers with speed, only halfway done. Lambo really delayed that for a while. A bunker still set up. Finally, this V goes down.
But is it too late? I mean, it's done its job and kept that bunker alive. I mean, you should probably just cancel this other bunker. I guess, but...
Just bring an SCV over. I swear to God, like.
Beastie, please. Beastie,
This is a very. It's gonna be a long, drawn out, like, you know, rush. As funny as that is to say, a Reaper or SCV could probably get over here and help out. But I think the rush has effectively worked for Beastyqt. He got Lambo to cancel his third base. He's killed a lot of Lings. He's surpassed the worker of Lambo, and this should be game.
Yeah, this is love to see. I mean, there's no Ravagers. Usually, that's what we talk about, like being a desperate last-ditch hope thing. But Reapers get to the low ground. Reapers hide inside the bunker. I mean, there's just no killing these, even with the speedlings.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that Lambo trying to wait for the speedlings was his last-ditch effort. He gets like 1 or 2 Reapers there, but not enough.
Beastie.
Still.
Never lucky, GG. All right, 4-0 now for the Terran. Are these new maps broken for Terran, or is this just Beastie being a beast?
I don't know. Beastyqt is such a good Terran for the situation, not just that he's like a good Terran in general. But it also does really feel like maybe the initial favor does go to Terran, which sucks because, you know, it is a tournament for money, and you would hope that there wouldn't be such an imbalance. Like, if this is all TVT, obviously there's a problem. Hopefully that's not going to be the case. Oh God, the San Station.
Okay, well, let's, which I forgot to mention, by the way, sorry, Galactic Process was made by New Sunshine. That's my bad. Again, we're trying to, it's weird, because normally we don't credit the map makers, and it's something I think maybe should be done a little bit more, maybe, sure, but for us, not used to it. So, New Sunshine was the creator of Galactic Process. If you're Zerg, send your hate his way. If you're Terran, send your love his way.
Yeah. I hate the, you know, Take TV was joking about it earlier, too, but all these maps have to have like complicated names, like at least actually 2 words in their name.
You know, complicated names though can sometimes be good. Did you ever play Halo at all?
Not enough to remember the map names.
Well, not about the map names. Their ship names are still, in my opinion, like some of the coolest in like video game history, like Forward Unto Dawn and things like that. Like, just really cool names. And I think StarCraft tries to aim that direction, but just misses. Like, the names are kind of lame for most StarCraft maps.
This is interesting. Lambo doesn't think that 3x Reaper is very good on that map.
I would actually agree. Like, if he was better prepared, because, you know, he did go for a 3rd hatch really quick. Like, they're discussing in theory crafting right now, like what would have gone down there. But I think if he doesn't go for the 3 hatch, I agree. Like, the rush distance is so long that catching 1 or 2 hurts more than normal. And we'll see. Hopefully more games like that with the Euthermal series tomorrow. As I think Euthermal is someone who would also be willing to do the Reaper build to test it.
That's for sure.
But Dasan Station. So this is that one that's pretty plain looking, but it's got the spawns in the middle of the map, and has the worrisome potential for things like air, whether it's sieging liberators from far away or whether it's tempests. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
It's by Nanje.
What? No, it's by Inek.
Well, the author of this is in Korean.
Ah, interesting. Didn't notice we had like Korean maps submitted or anything like that. I guess one of the cool things too, for those who don't know how the judging process to pick these top 15 finalists went, they actually did it without names. They wanted to make sure that there wasn't influence from any of the names. So whether you're Korean, American, it doesn't matter. They didn't see the name of the author. They just saw the maps, which was kind of cool.
BC needs a minute. That's what we're waiting on right now.
Yeah, and just to update, by the way, with the Corsair Cup stuff that's going on, they are currently on hold right now, so they can't play the semifinals. But we're aware that some of these maps are starting to take some time, and we may not be on our schedule to do that. So if it goes too long, we'll do the Corsair Cup from replays, but I'm really trying to make it so we can do those live as well. It is hard to predict the best of 9, though. Like, the volatility of this being, like, let's assume Lambo said to bring this back and it goes to game 9. Like, boom, that's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And we're being pretty quick with minimal downtime, too. But,
yeah, I don't... yeah.
I don't know if that'll be the case. This is the last map, potentially. He's up 4-0 right now, and if he wins this game, he shuts it all down. In the middle right bottom side, it's going to be the yellow Terran, Beastyqt.
In the top left middle, How's the blue Zerg? It's Invasion Esports Lambo.
It is a weird way to try and.
These are dumb spawns.
You can't even say necessarily like the 12:44 clock position.
Wait. Okay, so imagine it's a tinier clock, guys.
By the way, actually, for the Corsair Cup after this, okay, this is. I didn't realize you could get over there, but I guess that's not a full wall off. That's a small wall off.
Oh, well, that changes things a lot, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I thought that would be a full wall off with the rocks.
Wait a minute. Wait.
That. I'm wondering if that's intentional or not. It doesn't seem like you should be able to take these bases, but if it does, then all of a sudden you're gold. I guess this is the risk reward for the gold. You wall this off, you take the gold as your natural, and there's quite a bit of fighting area in between.
Interesting.
Because
Well,
I thought this was going to go up back here and make this your natural, and you'd have to go around the map.
well, I guess.
By the way, sorry, I was going to say, though, the semifinals we have lined up for the Corsair Cup are actually so... It figures the one time we can't like necessarily cast it. They're so sick. You got Bly versus TLO and Drogo versus Keen.
Yeah. Well, it's also been a super fast Corsair Cup, so that tells you how long casting takes, or
Yeah.
very unlucky, never lucky.
But, oh, this is dumb. There needs to be blocker. I mean, there's a blocker here with the unbuildable plates, but this doesn't really stop the problem, especially with a skinny ramp.
Actually, I'm going to look at... Maybe it says in the notes for this map. This looks too stupid.
It does. It really does.
And the judges that did this, by the way, they've been like, responding to every single like comment brought up by salty people that weren't in, by the actual map makers that were in. Like, they would have recognized something as this.
Well, I don't want to necessarily give the names because it's meant to be anonymous. I do know like at least 3 of the judges are players as well. Players whose opinions I would trust pretty blindly, to be honest, too. So, I mean, this had to have been overlooked by many people for this to be... I just feel like this was an accident. Like, this feels like it's one grid space built in the wrong spot. But maybe it's on purpose.
It does, doesn't it?
Maybe it's not. Either way, this looks like it's going to be a really stupid win for Beastie.
It is. Because the thing is that, like, even if... Okay, so you're supposed to take a gold, and it's supposed to be risky, but the other person can take the gold so easily. Like... there's almost like no downside to Beastyqt opening like this anyway, and then walling off his natural and taking the gold, even if Lambo did take his natural in the back, and it's just a contain. And that's still pretty good. So I don't know. We'll see if Lambo can break out of it. Of course, now we get to talk about all the options that there are available for breaking out of this. It's not just the front.
Can a queen even fit through that?
Maybe not.
It's just like transferring a queen down to your base, like.
We're in a marathon.
Okay, well, the bunker's getting salvaged and backing away from this. BC already killing the natural base is a pretty big deal. It's worth noting he didn't exactly take one of his own behind this. He's still going for like this one base build. Awkward bunker in the backside in case there's run by, so we all know the attack's coming from the front.
What if it is just such a small rush distance that there really is no defense advantage? Like, even with a wall, as we see Beastyqt making, like, a wall. That's so dumb. That's so silly. I can't believe you do that.
It buys so much time, and there's like no space to really maneuver around.
What? I
think he was baiting. He's got so many Marines, and like he'll repair this for a long time.
Okay, so, Then what I would really like to see then is a Terran try and take the gold base as usual, like not a 2-axe first. Lambo take the natural in his back, and then Roach Rush. How powerful would that be on the flip side?
I don't know. We didn't get to see it here, so.
Is it so imbalanced for both parties? Like, is the rush just so rushy for both parties that, like, either way it balances itself out by being hyper aggressive? What is happening, by the way, with these models?
What do you mean?
To the left of the wall, the holograms. I don't know. I've never seen it before. It looks cool.
They just come and disappear. It's not a new doodad. It's been around for a while.
The holograms of like Sarah?
Yeah, and Zerglings and DNA strands and stuff. There's a Night Elf one too.
Oh, aren't you knowledgeable? Well, anyways, so this might just still work out for Lambo, despite losing his hatchery here.
I don't know. That bunker's gonna hold.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, I didn't realize every single roach had just gone down in like an instant. Oh, Jesus. 6 workers now killed, but Lambo tries to take his regular base.
Go for it again, and if at first you don't succeed. Now, this is interesting because does Lambo know that BC doesn't have a natural? He never really got back here to scout and find out. He might think like, well, if the bunker's there, because he scouted the bunker, like, okay, you're just too scared, you didn't take anything. But Beastyqt is in fact one basing it. I think the Cloaked Banshee is going to be the real clincher here, though. There's not going to be detection. There's no layers, so no overseers, and no spore crawlers have started yet.
I finally looked at the notes, by the way. One of the notes is we have no idea how this map will play out either. So, I guess that they were just willing to see this type of shenanigans happen.
It's all the judges saying we like chaos and anarchy.
Yeah, which, I mean, now that we see it played out a little bit more, I can kind of see the appeal to it.
I want to say, by the way, the fact that this tank can reach the ramp from where it is, pretty much, is not okay.
That's not okay. Everything else is okay, but this is not okay.
I guess the irony is, though, if the rocks were there, it couldn't reach the one part of the ramp people could walk through.
This is so weird.
Like, how do you deal with this? You just can't. You just.
Well, first of all, you stop trying to take the gold base. Like, you just give up on that, all right?
You know what's gonna happen? Here's the unintended side effect of today's matches for Lambo. He's gonna go back into the current ladder map pool with better appreciation for the terrible maps we have right now than the ones you played today on the test tournament.
But here's what's really dumb too, is that Lambo could have potentially gotten his third base as like partially mining the gold as well. Like if you had expanded to the back and then down. Like, you can still actually hit those minerals. It's not ideal mining, but it's stupid, and it's probably still better than trying to take this base. There's not even that many patches. Like, 12 drones can fit on that? I can barely believe it.
That's the same saturation as a normal gold base. It always only has 6 patches.
But I can't believe it.
Oh, you mean like with how closely they're positioned?
Like, look how stupidly small it is.
Yeah, I agree. That looks really weird. I wonder what happens to you if you drop mules as terrain and one goes behind the mineral patches. You've just lost that mule. Like,
forever. It's gone.
Like, it has to go all the way around the map to return the minerals. It'll time out by the time it gets back.
This is so stupid. What's so crazy is we're talking about how crazy this map is, and Lambo defended that push, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, credits goes to Lambo, but that's the thing. It sucks because it's a 4-0 score, but it doesn't really reflect. Lambo's been playing not terribly today. Like, I actually really like Lambo. He was one of the people I really reached out to almost first because we don't see enough of him.
Yeah. But sorry.
GG.
Okay, GG, that's it.
Congratulations, Hearthstone, or sorry, not Hearthstone, excuse me. Beastyqt will advance. Hearthstone's up next. Beastyqt will advance to the round of 8, and Lambo will sadly fall out. But we thank him very much for helping us test some of these tournaments and take a look at what could possibly come next season in the map pool. But now we got to get Hearthstone and Puck situated. We also got to figure out what we're doing server-wise for them. So we'll go to a bit of a break. So yeah, we'll go to a bit of a break and we'll get things sorted and we'll be back soon. Getting caught up on resubs. Thank you very much to Hello Resident 8 for the 4-month resub. Mentet Peter for the 8 months. HNK Olav for the 3 months. And thank you Volark for the 22-month resub. If we've missed anyone else, please know that we love you. Thank you so much for watching. And Lambo says, if you do any more show matches with Beastyqt, please invite me. I want revenge. I love Lambo. Okay, so we're going to go get Hearthstone and Puck sorted. We got to figure out where we're going to be doing servers, if we'll swap every 2 maps type thing. I mean, it is EU versus NA, so we'll see you guys in a bit. Thanks for watching.